If you are holding a rare coin right now, keep it close, because what I'm about to show you has turned ordinary pockets into silent treasure chests. Before we begin, hit that subscribe button, because the next few seconds may completely change the way you look at old coins forever. Today's story starts with a coin that hides in plain sight. A coin so unassuming that most people walk past it without ever realizing the unbelievable power sealed inside its metal. And this time, we are entering the forgotten world of a South African piece that collectors whisper about, but almost never see. A coin from a year that marked a turning point in history, the 1994 South Africa 5 Rand. Imagine this for a moment. You're sorting through old drawers, forgotten boxes, maybe a family collection passed down from someone who never thought these little pieces of metal would matter decades later. Your fingers brush against something thicker, heavier, colder than the coins around it. You feel the weight first, then the edges. Something about it feels different. You turn it toward the light, and that simple movement begins a chain reaction that connects you to an era of transformation, a moment when the world held its breath and South Africa stepped into a new chapter. This coin is not just currency. It is a witness. It has lived through political storms, celebrations, hopes, fears, and the rise of a nation searching for unity. And somewhere, among millions of ordinary coins, a few rare ones from 1994 were struck with such precision, such perfection, that collectors today would do anything to get their hands on them. But the strange thing is, most people don't even know what they're looking at. They don't understand what makes one coin ordinary and another one extraordinary. That's exactly what makes this story so powerful. Let me take you back to the beginning, long before anyone realized this coin would become legendary. It was the year 1994, a year that carried a different kind of electricity in the air. South Africa was experiencing one of the greatest transitions in its history. The world watched as the country changed direction, and even the smallest symbols, from flags to stamps to coins, began to reflect that change. And within that swirl of transformation, the minting of the 5 Rand coin took place quietly, almost secretly, like a small detail in a massive moment. But collectors know something most people don't. Major national change often creates rare, short-run variations, special minting errors, and valuable commemorative pieces. This makes the 1994 5 Rand a coin wrapped in mystery. Some versions were minted in low numbers. Some were struck with unusual features. Some were produced only for sets, not for circulation. And a tiny number, so few that most people will never see them, carry a level of rarity so extreme that their value today doesn't even fit the imagination of someone who's never entered the world of high-level numismatic collecting. But the secret lies in recognizing what you're holding. That's where most people fail. They think every 5 Rand looks the same, feels the same, means the same. But you're about to see why that's not true. Picture the coin in your hand now, turning it slowly between your fingers. On one side, the fierce black wildebeest charges into motion, muscles rippling, symbolizing resilience and unstoppable force. On the other, the South African coat of arms stares back at you, but in a design used only in specific years, a detail that many viewers overlook. The date, 1994, stands quietly beneath the surface. To the untrained eye, it's just a date, just another number. But to someone who knows what to look for, it's a signal, a clue, a doorway into a deeper story. Collectors scour markets, auctions, estate sales, and private vaults looking for versions of the 1994 5 Rand that stand out. A perfectly struck example, free of scratches, with crisp details and untouched surfaces, is like discovering a historical time capsule sealed in metal. But the most impressive part isn't just the rarity. It's the transformation of meaning. The moment a collector picks up this coin, they aren't just buying metal. They're buying the beginning of a new democratic era, preserved forever within a round edge of nickel and bronze. Now imagine this. Somewhere in the world right now, someone is holding onto one of these coins without knowing what they have. It could be slipping in and out of pockets, resting in a jar for decades, trapped in a dusty box of forgotten change. Every day, its owner might look at it for a second, think nothing of it, and move on. Little do they realize that a single rare variation of this coin has the potential to rewrite their financial story. People chase gold, diamonds, stocks, property, yet the rarest coins often rise in value faster than all of them. Why? Because rarity cannot be manufactured. Once the minting stops, it stops forever. And that's why this coin has become something of a legend among seasoned collectors. They know how hard it is to find specific 1994 versions, especially in excellent condition. They know how quickly the value skyrockets when the right coin appears. They know that only a handful exist in the highest grade. But the average person never hears about these things. They don't follow auction results. They don't study mint variations. They don't track historical price jumps. That's why coins like this often slip past the people who need them most. But here's where your story becomes interesting. If you're watching this video, there's a chance, maybe small, maybe big, that you have one of these coins somewhere in your collection. And if you do, the next few minutes could be the most important ones you spend today. Because this isn't just about showing you a coin. It's about revealing something hidden, something that has been sitting quietly in the shadows for years. And once the truth is uncovered, there's no turning back. You will never look at old currency the same way again. And remember, the true power of this coin will only be understood when you see its value at the end of this video. A number that shocks even seasoned collectors. A number that makes people stop, sit back, and rethink everything they believed about money trapped in old metal. As you move deeper into the story of this coin, something becomes clear. The power of a rare coin is never loud. It doesn't shout. It doesn't attract attention like jewelry or gold bars. Instead, it hides in silence. It waits. And it rewards only the people who pay attention, the ones who understand that history often leaves clues in the smallest places. The 1994 South Africa 5 Rand is exactly that kind of clue. A doorway into a chapter of history that changed a nation, yet left behind artifacts that only a small number of people are wise enough to recognize. Think about the world back in 1994. South Africa was stepping out of one era and into another. Every symbol of the state had meaning. Every emblem, every crest, every design captured the emotions of a country rebuilding itself. When you hold a 1994 coin, you are holding that exact moment in your hand. You are touching the past without needing a museum, without needing a history book. And it's this connection, this physical link to time, that transforms a simple coin into a priceless collectible. But here's where things become even more interesting. Not all 1994 5 Rand coins are the same. Some were minted with different characteristics depending on their intended use. Some went into circulation, passing from hand to hand. Others were struck with a higher level of detail, intended only for collectors, never meant to enter the everyday world. And among those, a tiny number were minted with such remarkable clarity and precision that they stand out even today. These are the coins that auction houses whisper about, the coins that experienced collectors hunt relentlessly, the coins that climb in value even faster than experts expect. But most people don't know what separates a normal 5 Rand from a rare one. They don't know that tiny details, barely noticeable unless you're looking carefully, can multiply the value beyond imagination. A sharper strike on the wildebeest's mane, a deeper cut around the coat of arms, a flawless rim with no circulation marks, a metallic shine that still reflects light as if it was minted yesterday. These details matter because they signal one thing: survival. Almost all coins from 1994 have scratches, dings, corrosion, or signs of wear. But the rare ones that escape touch, the ones that remain protected for decades, are the ones that dominate the collecting world today. Imagine for a moment the journey of such a coin. Minted in a crowded factory, sliding down metal chutes, landing in trays. Most coins are scooped up, tossed into bags, and released into circulation. But a very small group, sometimes only a few hundred, sometimes even fewer, are set aside for collector sets or high-grade minting. These coins are never touched by fingers, never dropped, never circulated. They rest quietly in protective cases, traveling through time untouched. These are the gems of the numismatic world. And when one surfaces, collectors recognize it immediately, as if the coin carries an energy of its own. Now picture the kind of man who becomes obsessed with finding such coins. A man in his 50s or 60s, maybe retired, maybe still working, but always drawn to the idea of owning something that no one else can easily find. A man who respects history, who appreciates craftsmanship, who enjoys the silent thrill of discovering treasure in unexpected places. This is the kind of viewer who understands the weight of the 1994 5 Rand. This is the audience who sees beyond metal and understands meaning. And for them, the search never ends. But here's the twist. Sometimes the most valuable coins don't come from collectors. Sometimes they come from people who have no idea what they're holding. Someone cleaning out old boxes. Someone going through a late family member's belongings. Someone counting change in a drawer. A forgotten coin, buried for decades, suddenly reappears. And when the right expert examines it, when they see that it's one of the rare versions, the value skyrockets in an instant. Stories like these have happened again and again, with people discovering coins worth thousands, tens of thousands, even millions, without ever realizing what they possessed. That's why videos like this exist, not for entertainment alone, but for awareness. Because the truth is simple, rare coins do not announce themselves. You must recognize them. You must know the signs. You must understand the weight of history hidden in their surfaces. And the 1994 5 Rand is the perfect example of a coin that rewards those who look deeper. Let's talk about the symbolism embedded in this piece. The charging wildebeest on the front isn't just a design. It represents speed, power, and forward movement. It symbolizes a nation pushing ahead, refusing to stand still. The coat of arms on the reverse side carries messages that were deeply connected to the country's identity at the time. It represents heritage, unity, and the evolving character of the nation. Every line, every curve, every detail was chosen for a reason. That alone is enough to make the coin fascinating. But the true escalation of value comes from something else: rarity created by time. Once a coin reaches a certain age, the world begins to forget it. People spend them, lose them, melt them, ignore them. The longer time passes, the more the ordinary coins disappear. And the fewer that survive, the more the rare survivors become treasures. That is exactly what has happened with the 1994 5 Rand. Time has done the work. Time has removed millions from circulation. Time has destroyed countless examples through wear and damage. Only the strongest remain. And when the number of surviving high-grade pieces drops low enough, something remarkable happens. The value begins to rise faster than expected. Collectors become more aggressive. Auctions become more heated. Prices begin to jump. And eventually, a coin reaches a point where it is no longer seen as just money, but as a historical artifact. The 1994 5 Rand is already walking that path, especially the rare versions kept in pristine condition. And the higher the demand climbs, the more dramatic the value becomes. You may not realize this yet, but some versions of this coin have already shattered expectations in the collecting world. They have climbed far beyond the price of ordinary collectibles. They have become symbols of prestige. Owning one is not just about having a coin. It is about having a piece of a nation's rebirth preserved in perfect form. It is about owning a moment of history frozen in metal. And as collectors continue searching, the possibility remains that someone watching this video right now might be holding one of the rare survivors without even knowing it. If you're one of those people, the next part of this video will be crucial, because that is where the final piece of the story will unfold. The moment when mystery becomes revelation. The moment when the coin's true value is exposed. Now we reach the most critical moment of this entire journey. If the first part of this story opened your eyes, and the second part sharpened your understanding, then what comes next will reshape everything you thought you knew about the value of rare coins. Because the deeper you go into the history of the 1994 South Africa 5 Rand, the more you realize that this coin is far more than a collectible. It is a survivor of a turning point in the nation's identity, a small metallic witness that carries the weight of a monumental shift. And that weight, combined with rarity, is what pushes its value into territory that few people ever imagine. But before we reveal that, let's slow down. Because understanding the value of this coin requires understanding something more powerful than metal, age, or scarcity. It requires understanding the emotional journey of a country that, in 1994, crossed over from one chapter of its story into another. That transition left traces everywhere, in flags, in documents, in stamps, and yes, even in coins. And the 5 rand from that year became something of a silent signature, a mark left behind at a time when the world was watching. Collectors understand this. They feel it. That's why they examine every detail with such care. They look at the rim, searching for signs of originality. They study the wildebeest, looking for sharpness in the mane and strength in the lines. They examine the coat of arms, checking if the strike is deep, centered, flawless. They study the metal's shine, searching for that crisp, untouched look that reveals the coin's true past. Every detail tells a story, and every detail plays a role in determining whether the coin belongs to the ordinary world or to the rare one. And this is where most people are surprised. They think rarity is obvious. They think a valuable coin must look different from others. But in reality, many of the world's most valuable coins look completely ordinary to the untrained eye. Their value lies not in how they appear when casually viewed, but in the tiny differences that only careful examination can reveal. That's why the 1994 5 Rand continues to surprise people. It looks familiar, but the rare versions are anything but ordinary. Now imagine someone discovering this coin by accident. A man in his 50s, sorting old belongings. He reaches into a tin filled with mixed change. He sees a heavy, two-tone coin he doesn't recognize at first glance. He turns it in his hand. Something feels different. The weight, the shine, the date. He doesn't know it yet, but he's holding a piece of history worth far more than its face value. And when he learns the truth, when he discovers that collectors around the world are searching for coins just like his, everything changes. That tiny metallic circle becomes a symbol of luck, timing, and unexpected opportunity. But not everyone gets that chance. That's why awareness is so important. That's why videos like this matter. Because knowledge is what separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. Without knowledge, a rare coin can be spent like loose change, lost forever in a transaction that means nothing. With knowledge, the same coin becomes a treasure capable of rewriting someone's life. Consider the journey this coin has taken over the decades. It has survived pockets, drawers, boxes, markets, and time itself. It has passed through hands that never understood it. It has traveled across years of change. Some examples were damaged, worn, or forgotten. Only a tiny number remained in mint condition, untouched and protected. And those survivors, the ones that avoided the wear of everyday life, are the ones that ignite bidding wars among collectors today. And it is in these bidding wars that the true power of rarity becomes undeniable. The competition, the desire, the willingness to pay more than anyone expects. Collectors who understand history, craftsmanship, and scarcity push the price higher and higher because they know exactly what they are fighting for. They know that once a rare coin enters a private collection, it might not reappear for decades. They know opportunities like this do not repeat. That scarcity drives demand, and demand drives value. This is where the story reaches its highest tension. Because the next question is the one everyone asks. How much can a rare 1994 South Africa 5 Rand be worth today? How far has its value climbed? How high have collectors pushed the price in competition? How much can one perfectly preserved, ultra-rare example realistically bring? Before we answer that, imagine this final scene. A private auction room. Only a handful of serious collectors are invited. A single coin is brought out, sealed, protected, flawless. The room goes silent. The bidding begins slowly, methodically. Hands rise. Prices climb. Voices sharpen. Cameras record. Someone in the back steps in with a stronger bid. Another collector raises the stakes. The coin's history, condition, and rarity combine into a perfect storm. The room grows tense. Every eye watches the auctioneer, and the number climbs higher than anyone expected. Because this coin is not just a fragment of metal. It is the physical reflection of an era of transformation. It is a symbol of South Africa's rebirth. It is rare, sought after, and impossible to replace. And when an item carries that much significance, the market responds with intensity. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. After all the history, the rarity, the tension, the story behind this remarkable coin, here is the truth collectors already know. A rare, high-grade, pristine 1994 South Africa 5 Rand coin can reach a staggering value of up to $2 million. Let that sink in. $2 million. A number so large that most people never imagine a coin could reach it. A number that transforms an ordinary-looking object into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. A number that shows exactly why collectors chase this coin with such intensity. And it is not just because of the rarity, or the condition, or the history alone. It is because all these elements come together in one perfect moment. A moment captured forever in a small circle of metal. So if you have this coin, or think you might have it, take the time to examine it closely. Look at the details. Study the surfaces. Protect it. Respect it. Because you may be holding one of the most valuable pieces of modern South African numismatic history. And if you're one of the few people in the world lucky enough to own the rarest version, then you already understand the truth. Sometimes the greatest treasures are not buried underground, not locked in vaults, not guarded by time. Sometimes they're sitting quietly in your home, waiting for the right moment to reveal their worth. This is what makes coin collecting extraordinary. Not just the metal, but the meaning. Not just the age, but the journey. Not just the rarity, but the story. And the story of the 1994 5 Rand coin is one that continues to rise, continues to inspire, and continues to reward anyone who is willing to look a little deeper.